we present our financial statements quite often is different from country to country, depending on their accounting requirements. So yes, we need to make sure that there's what we call the International Financial Reporting Standards, which Mr. Fraser talked about this morning when he was making his presentation. We have to make sure that is our data, the balance sheet, the income statement, does it comply with the standards? So that's one. In microfinance, when we talk about standards, have you heard about SIP? SIP?
What?
SIP. SIP has come up with standards, financial reporting standards. And the latest is 2005. Although there have been some changes in 2010, we're coming up with new ratios. But otherwise, the 2005 framework, SIP framework, is still valid, and that's what we are using. We should note, for example, that the SIP framework is in line with the International Financial Reporting Standards. So actually, you'll be safe using the SIP standards. And the key issues here is, which I could bring out, is treatment of grants and donations. How does the standards talk about this? Those who are complying with the SIP, grants and donations.
Maybe I think the way they are treated has to be very clear. They have to be clearly separately accounted.
Yes.
And our ratios shall indicate both with and without donations, so that they will be clear.
So thanks a lot. So I've been going around and looking at different income statements and balance sheets in many microfinance institutions. And quite often you find that actually the donations, when they're received, they become part of your operational income. Now we are not saying that there's anything wrong in receiving this grant income or donations, but the way you present it is going to make all the difference. So what the standard is therefore saying is that when you bring in this donation and grants, you should report it after your net income. That is your operational income, that's your operational expenses, and then after that you bring in your your grants and donations. Otherwise, if you don't, then you'll be comparing with some other MFI, which for example is not receiving grants, and you think maybe you are doing better, which is not the case. So that is one aspect. Another aspect is the core and non-core activities. And that's quite common here in Ethiopia, especially with the big MFIs. We have MFIs which are making payments on behalf of government, like pension. You get the commission. But you also receive that money, isn't it? And then you put it on your balance sheet. And then you're going to work out your liquidity ratios. How do you think is, Mr. Wash, do you want to talk about this if you don't mind? What do you really mean?
Well, actually,
The financial service program.
Yes, so which means anything you do, which you could do illegally or you could do it, and can be part of your income statement and balance sheet. Those are non-core, like what we mentioned, the pension. Some of you have buildings, and then you rent out. That rental income, you don't want to bring it in your income statement as part of your interest income, because again it is going to distort. So the SIP standard is saying, let us separate this in your in your income statement and balance sheet. Then the other issue which the standards bring out with the adjustments. What kind of adjustments are we talking about? And I'm not talking about the normal accounting end of year adjustments. There are 3-4 adjustments which we normally make in the context of a microfinance institutions. Can anybody help me?
Inflation.
The inflation. What else?
subsidies?
Cost of subsidies.
Imputed cost of capitals.
right? Which we can, yeah, that's right. And then the in-kind donations, all right? So what we are saying, if you are going to collect your data, you need to make sure that these adjustments are also made against your data.